Good Friday to everybody that's on live with us today. How you doing?
Excellent. Absolutely excellent.
Victor's wearing a hoodie. It must be cold today where you are.
Yeah, winter is coming, man.
Winter is coming? That means so many things right now.
Yeah, I don't know how to translate to use measure, but it's like 20 degrees Celsius outside.
That's not cold.
It is. If extreme cold in your city is 10, then 20 is cold.
Wait, you say 10 is cold?
That's extreme. If it goes to 0, freezing point, then nobody goes to work where I am.
So for people that are still in imperial measurements, 10 degrees Celsius is 50. Today our high is 53. So I'm right at 10 to 11 today. And I'm in shorts and a t-shirt. And it's wonderful.
It all depends what you're used to. I'm pretty sure that somebody in Sahara would freak out if it would reach 20 and then blame gods and what's or not.
Yeah. So basically my happy place is from 0 to 10. That's my happy place.
I would emigrate from your happy place.
Well, it's not that way all the time here. Usually we're probably around 20 to 25. That's probably normal. But in wintertime, we are 0 to 10. That's pretty normal. All right, we're not talking about those kinds of things today. But by the way, we haven't even introduced ourselves yet today. My name is Darren Pope. This is Victor over in the hoodie today. And he has his beer. We'll get to the drinks in a few moments. If you don't have a drink, you'll get a drink right now. We're the co-host of a podcast called DevOps Paradox. And on Fridays, we do this little show called DevOps Paradox Live, which means no editing for me. If you're tired of hearing me say that, I will never get tired of saying that. But anyway, the podcast comes out on Wednesdays and we do this on Fridays. We started this up right around the time of when the world changed in 2020. If you're watching this in the future, if you don't understand what time the world changed in March of 2020, go look in your history book. We're not going to say the word. Just in case at ever some point in the future we're actually able to monetize this stream. But for now, that's fine. And we just talk about things that have happened in the past week since we did the last show. And usually we're pretty good about doing that. And in fact, we have one of our regulars here with us today, Vladislav. Thanks for joining us this evening where you are. I believe Vladislav's in your time zone, if not just east of you. So it's late where you are right now. It's actually a little bit later show for us today, just due to Victor's been a busy boy this week. Normally we talk about this at the end, but let's talk about it right now. And just so in case to get her off right, there we go. Cheers to everyone. That's not very fizzy today. Let's see, is it? There's no fizz there. Okay. You've been a busy boy this week.
I think I had like 5 webinars, conferences, something like that in a week, every day.
Every day.
That's very exhausting because I do hands-on stuff and making sure that those 45 minutes actually go smooth, which never do, is a full day of work.
Yep. Just if you're thinking that you can just show up, do one of these things and walk away, even though this is a live show, there's been a few hours of prep, even though it won't feel like it, because we're just the ones talking. But
especially in my case, I don't have, like many people have a cluster that is already operational and then doing, and they use demo clusters. I don't. I create everything from scratch for every single event.
Yep.
And just creating everything, right, kind of takes 2 hours, right? Kind of create a cluster, install this tool, that tool, configure this.
It takes time.
Takes time.
Even if you have it all terraformed, it still takes time.
Still takes time, yeah. Yeah, it always takes time.
Hey, just out of curiosity, when you spin up your cluster today, I'm assuming you're still spinning up in GCP, correct?
No, I'm doing AWS now.
We're doing AWS now. Oh.
Can I tell you the reason?
Yes.
My company has account in AWS and the rest I need to expense. So to save myself from expensing other providers, I'm using AWS.
So that means, are you using 118 right now then with EK? I'm assuming you're using EKS.
Yes, I'm using EKS.
Okay.
I don't know which one I'm using anymore.
Okay. If you're doing latest, it doesn't really matter. Okay.
No, it's one of those for demos, and I will be honest here. Kind of, I have everything in Terraform. I'm creating it with, I change in Git, and then everything is created automatically. I don't really execute even commands, but the version is whatever was working until AWS tells me for demo purposes, hey, it fails with an error. This one is not supported anymore. I'm not changing it. That's how it goes.
Yep. Okay. This week, if you haven't listened to the podcast this week, and let me find my notes, we had on Christine Spang from Nihilus. I mentioned this last week. If you noticed something that was a little bit different in that one, Victor barely said anything.
Yeah, that's the first, right?
It was. That was also. So, do you want to tell the backstory?
It's audio, so you cannot see me, kind of. I was physically present, but
barely.
Not mentally, kind of.
Yeah. Do you want to tell the backstory of partially why that was?
I already forgot, so you go.
I remember. The night before, you'd only slept 2 hours. That was one where you were getting ready for some big something and hadn't slept.
Yep.
So
you
were not your cheery self.
Oh yeah, it wasn't like
it wasn't super late either. Afternoon. It was like, we recorded it like at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, which was 11:30 p.m. your time, which is
that's early for me.
Not an abnormal time for us to record for you. It would be extremely abnormal for me. Like, so when we record the podcast, it usually happens either 5 to 5:30 p.m. Eastern time or 5 to 5 a.m. Eastern time. So, which is right when either I'm just waking up or so again, we've talked about this before. Victor and I are basically, we live the same, we're awake and go to bed about the same hours. The only thing is they're 6 hours apart.
Was that kind of, that was a period where, if I remember correctly, I pinged you like the day before that. We had something else, and I pinged you like a few minutes before and saying, man,
I can't do it.
I just passed out. No, I cannot do it. No.
I was concerned for you that day. I mean, we joke about a lot of stuff. That was one of the days I was like, if I lived in the same town, I would have been going over to Victor's house and probably taking him to the ER. That's what I was concerned. But that's behind us now. Hopefully you enjoyed that episode with Christine. It's a very interesting thing. Anytime we talk to SaaS providers or service providers, it's always interesting to understand how they're still approaching things. And if you haven't listened to it, take a listen to it. It's to think that there's money to be made in making it simple to integrate with an email provider. I would have never thought that. And it's a hard problem. It's a hard problem.
Me neither. And that's probably why we don't have our companies, right? I'm incapable of coming up with brilliant ideas that to me sound silly, until actually somebody implements it and I say, oh, yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yep. So, Christine, thanks for being on with us for that one. We'll talk about next week's episode towards the end of the show. But talking about today. Today is Death Day. Do you know why? It's November 13th. It's Friday the 13th. But that's not why.
Actually, in our industry, it's a different reason, yeah.
Today is this day. Helm v2 finally dies. Support-wise, anyway.
Yes.
Now, what does that really mean? What does that truly, really mean? As I'm pulling up the... here was the link that, or the tweet that CNCF put out.
Let me tell you, can I give you my interpretation of what that means? That means that all those companies who never upgrade anything until they lose support are going to start freaking out, because those types of decision makers, they don't want to change things, they don't want to upgrade things, but then when they lose support, they freak out even more because they don't have somebody to blame anymore.
We call that being lazy.
Yeah. Not being lazy.
That's the side effect.
It's a very strange way of approaching things where the only value is seen in new features. So something new feature is always prioritized. And since upgrading your stuff is not a new feature, or at least not perceived as new feature, even though it is, then that's never prioritized. It's about priorities.
As Mislov said, so most of them? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Most of them.
Hey, Mislov. How you doing, man? I haven't seen you in forever. Mislov was a guest
you need to
way back
Mislav,
when.
you need to ping us to see how's the training platform going.
How's MSB going? Yeah. So Helm, nice knowing you. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Right? Why did we? Oh, yeah, doing great. Good to see. Why was Helm 2 so bad?
Because of the architecture, it required server running inside of the cluster, and that server was full of security holes that were kind of, not something that missed, but simply design was really, really bad. The tiller is a horrible idea.
Yep.
And it kind of ignored the direction of Kubernetes, where, things are stored as CRDs and config maps and secrets and what's not. We don't need a server anymore for those types of tasks. And that is my beef. If I would go back to HashiCorp Waypoint, and if I would limit my experience on Kubernetes, and that is terribly wrong because that's not what Waypoint is. But if I limit my experience to Kubernetes, the moment I saw that I need to install a server for no apparent reason, I freaked out. Completely freaked out.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about that towards the end, because that was your video for this week, was talking about Waypoint. But we'll get there after a while. So Helm 2, and I knew the answer to that already. Most people have moved on from Helm 2 that I have seen, but I'm still aware of some people that are still using it. So if you're still using Helm 2, I'm so sorry, but you need to get a new job. Find something new.
If you're using Helm 2, then I think that Kubernetes is not for you.
Yeah.
Because Kubernetes is it will not be there. Like years from now, Kubernetes will be a stable thing that is not receiving frequent updates, that simply works and all those things. And there are nobody shaking the boat too much. But that's not Kubernetes today. If you adopt Kubernetes, you are acknowledging that you are accepting that the things are shifting all the time. And if you cannot update something after 2 years, Kubernetes is not for you.
That's going to be one of the clips for next week. Thank you for saying that. It's something I think we're going to have to repeat over and over to people. Is Kubernetes right for large enterprises? If a large enterprise can't keep up to date, I'm going to say quarterly. Maybe every 6 months. What do you think? Every 3 to 6 months?
Let's say 6 months. I mean, I would like it to be
every 3, but let's say 6.
More frequent, but 6, yes.
So if you can't upgrade twice a year, don't use Kubernetes.
That should be kind of a form. When you fill in the form and they tell you whether, usually used in dating sites, I'm guessing, you fill in the form and then is this a right match for you? That should be for Kubernetes. One of the questions should be, are you willing to upgrade stuff every 6 months? Yeah. If you say no, then it's not for you. It's okay.
Okay. And we already shown where we're heading next. Shippa has now open sourced Catch. and we both know Jim. I think you know Jim better than I do.
Oh yeah.
So, this is all cool, and I forgot to actually go get the link to it. Have you looked at Catch at all yet?
Only briefly. So I'm planning actually this weekend, most likely, and things happen. So sometimes I don't do what I promise. I'm planning to go through Shippa or Catch or Shippa in general. I'm not sure yet. Something from there and see whether that's worth using or not. Now, the way how I see Kubernetes is that, stop me if I already said that story in one of the previous live streams because I'm forgetful. I see Kubernetes as having 4 different phases. One is create a platform that is not useful for anybody. That's Kubernetes core, but platform that can be extended so that we can create platforms that are useful for others. That's phase number 1. Phase number 2, create components, because different components in Kubernetes are horrible. Networking is horrible. Storage is horrible by design. It's meant to be extended by other components. That's phase number 2. Create those components. Phase number 3, create platforms on top of Kubernetes using those components and potentially maybe some proprietary stuff. And phase number 4 is when things are so abstracted that we don't even know that we are using Kubernetes anymore. That's when Kubernetes becomes the real deal because it becomes simpler for everybody. It maintains the power we have at Kubernetes with simplicity, which propelled Docker to become what it is or what it was. So abstracting Kubernetes so that majority of people don't manage the complexity behind Kubernetes themselves. Now, Sketch, from what I briefly looked at, and Ship in general, and I haven't had yet experience with it, is that trying to attack that 4th phase of making things extremely simple, as if Kubernetes does not exist, as if it's just implementation detail. So I like the idea. I'm yet to find out whether it's a good implementation or not. That might be Tuesday after next in the DevOps Toolkit series channel. Might be.
Yeah,
Don't call me.
Yeah, because if you haven't even looked at it yet, don't spend all weekend on this. I think you're going to get into it, and it's going to send you down a different rabbit hole that you're not going to be able to keep up with. So I'd rather you...
Maybe we'll see.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I tell a story about Shippa?
Please do.
So I get the message from Shippa. Hey, would you like to evaluate Shippa and tell us what you think? And I said, sure. Let me evaluate Shippa. And they wrote Shippa only, right? And then we have a meeting and then talk about it and see what we can do. Yeah, why not? I search Shippa, Google Shippa, comes shippa.com. I go to shippa.com. I don't know, put it on the screen if you can. Shippa.com, and we have a meeting. And I was really, really curious, kind of like, why would you guys want me to evaluate Shippa? What is I was so curious that I actually accepted the meeting only because I could not understand what does this has to do with me. We had half an hour talk when I was explaining how I don't care about deliveries. That's not my thing. And why would I? It's not even open source. There is no way. Why the heck would you want me there? And after half an hour, Jim said, hey, I think you're talking about wrong Shippa. That's the one.
Yes. It happens to everybody. Okay.
Always give me a link. Don't give me the name.
Especially in this world where not
unless
everybody
you're the first result. Until Shippa becomes the first result in Google, don't say Shippa. Say Shippa.io.
Yeah, because as soon as we hear .io, number one, we know that you're cool. Because only cool people use .io, right?
Probably, I don't know. Yeah.
What What do our 2-day jobs have? I think they're both .coms.
No, mine is IO. I work in a cool one.
Oh, okay. I still work in a cool one. We just don't have
Yeah.
.io.
Yours has like at least 10 iOS domains that I know of.
Well, we do. That is true. Okay. So let's move on to the next one. I saw this article posted on GCP with the advent of Docker Apocalypse last week, and I've seen a number of people starting to hit their limits in numerous ways, hitting their limits. They being GCP, published this article last week about how to cache the images inside of GCP. Nothing huge. If you're using GCP, you're muted if you're talking. Yeah.
Yeah, and probably there is recommendation there to log in so that you have double the limit. Yeah. I think, I don't have it confirmed because in the webinar I had before this, it couldn't pull the image which I confirmed is there. I think that I hit the limit in the live webinar an hour ago. You haven't had time to, it's a webinar, you don't have time to really go into details, but I think I did.
Right. So, it's just, now's the time. You've got to, if it hasn't happened to you yet, it will. It's sort of like doing live streams. It's not a matter of if something is going to happen to you while you're live streaming, it's a matter of when. Like my battery running out.
It's almost like a call to action for people to start implementing good practices. We know for a long time now that if you use public images like third-party applications, you should store them in your private registry. Kind of like that's one of the first things that I probably you as well that we tell our customers, right? Kind of, hey, store it in your registry always. This is just going to enforce that. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, it's a variant. They're just cutting off bandwidth, but this is the same thing as what happened to NPM a few years ago, to where somebody got ticked off and removed a module from the NPM registry. Then, half the internet blew up. Now it's just a matter of, now you just can't even get it. So, manage your own registry, people. Wait, here, hang on a second. That's worth saying. And I'm going to take full screen for this one. Manage your own registry. Okay.
Especially since it's easy, you don't even really need to manage. Almost all registries have the option to act as mirrors. You go to your registry, image doesn't exist. It will go to the real registry, let's say, not real, but the registry where it is.
The backing.
It will pull it, and so just configure it to act as a mirror if you don't want hassle.
Yeah. Now, in doing that, you want to make sure that you don't have some sort of garbage collection on images or binaries or anything else. So that also means it's going to get large over time, which means you need lots of storage, just so you don't get surprised. Yeah. Because when you have to pull a jar file that's last time it was published was 2006, and you still need it because people are still using it, don't trust Maven Central for that. You need that.
Or, I wouldn't say don't use garbage collection. Just make garbage collection not collect things that are old, but collect things that haven't been used in X months.
Right. And that X months, make it double-digit X months. 36, 48, 60. Make it, be a little extreme.
What's the golden rule? Take the number of existence of the company and divide it by 3. That's always a good number.
Divide it by 3 or times it times 3?
Yeah, those huge banks that exist for 30 years, then the limit should be 10. Let's not go crazy.
Oh, I was going the other direction. I was thinking they've been around 30, so let's make it 90 years because they were using stuff that was in that first year that's still running in production. Okay. If you're not mirroring, if you're not caching stuff from Docker Hub or from other places, you should be. That's probably worth a much deeper dive at some point. We shouldn't have to explain this, but we do. Okay, I saw this week, and I don't know what it's about. And I can't even say the name. It doesn't even make sense to me, but it says deploy any complex, so it's whatever this is, deploy any complex application seamlessly. Deploy your apps on any cloud provider. Okay, so that's the number one thing, cloud provider. So if you're on-prem, you're off the list. In just a few seconds. Okay. Nobody can do anything in just a few seconds. Unless it's Victor's little binary, right?
I mean, just if...
Oh, wait, I'm not even sharing the screen.
AWS,
Sorry, here we go. There we go.
If you're in AWS and your application needs external load balancer, which they most of the time do, just creating a load balancer takes minutes.
Minutes, yeah.
Just that part.
Yeah. But this is the picture that you were talking about earlier, right? When we were talking about the layers of Kubernetes, your four layers of Kubernetes. This is probably a level 3 or level 4 in the way you were defining things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, that was boring.
That on a paper looks similar to what we saw from Shipwright before.
From Shipwright, yeah. So yeah. I don't know how this even compares to Catch. So
now, one difference between, and I'm saying that without really getting my hands dirty yet. So, right. The thing I like about this potentially and Shipwright is because I think it's more realistic to have a single layer below, which is Kubernetes. Like if you go to the first graph.
Yeah, let's go back here. Yeah, having just one layer right there, just one.
Yeah, so I can understand that this is doable. This is my beef. Like Waypoint, I'm kind of negative because basically they don't have that layer in between here, right? It could be DigitalOcean or AWS or Azure. It could be serverless. It could be Kubernetes. And the chances of me making it useful and easy are very slim.
Yeah. But that's today. And we'll get back to Waypoint in a few minutes. But Waypoint is still super early. So
yeah, it is. I already learned my lesson. I think, we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. Just hold it. I'm happy that you keep bringing it forward, but just hang on. So the picture looks interesting. All the links that we're pulling up today, they'll be down in the show notes or on the description if you're watching on YouTube. But it looks interesting. I don't know. We'll see. There's a little thing here to where you can see whatever it is. But it's still and this is probably the same thing with Catch, it's all sort of Heroku-ish, right? It's command deploy list, right? These are all the sort of standard things. So we'll see. Put this on the backlog too. The other thing that I saw this week was Shipwright. And just to be consistent here, we've got Shipwright up. It's a framework for building container images on Kubernetes. And I'm thinking, how hard can this be? I mean, when you're building container images, you use Builda or you use, didn't mean to do that, or Canico or whatever. So is this a wrapper around all these things?
Guess so.
That's what it feels like.
I would guess so. Now, what I can tell you is that Canico is anything, but it's unnecessarily complicated to set it up. I cannot say and cloud native build packs are just too much magic for my taste, and I don't have enough experience with Builda to judge it. But if somebody could make Canico just work, I would be grateful, to be honest.
So this may actually be part of that. And the docs, I mean, these guys are way early on too, so.
But
that's
one of the things I don't understand is like if we go to previous examples with ship and whatever is we cannot pronounce the name, the other one.
This one.
Yeah, I can understand the value in this because, hey, I might be doing something in AWS, I might be doing something on this and that, right? Now, for the last example, name I cannot remember, Shipwright. I really don't care about being able to run on Canico and build packs and build. I just need one that builds my images. That's it.
Yeah.
Kind of. Why would I need 3? Choose one. I just need one way to build my images, and I don't need 5.
Yeah.
Right? Why would I?
Yeah. I don't know. It's, again, super early. I haven't seen now. I will click over here live. They talk about the intro. What is Shipwright? What is the problem? Okay, so let's look here. This was in October. Okay, this is really long. That's actually not that long. Yeah, I don't know. It may be cool. I don't know. But it's only the second release since September 11th. So we'll see. All right, next up, K6. Have you played with K6? My mouse just died. Have you played with K6 before?
It's difficult even to remember, kind of like K9, K8, this, and now K6. Come on, a bit of creativity. What is it?
So K6 is a load testing tool. If you've not used this before, you should. Because, yeah, my mouse is like super dead. Yeah, I show up again today with batteries that are dead. Okay, that's fine. I'll use trackpad. I used this a few months ago because I didn't want to set up binaries. What do you use for load testing? What's the one tool you use typically? The binary? Do you remember?
My mind blocked.
That's fine. It'll show up in a few minutes. But anyway, if you've not looked at K6, and it's actually this is the release notes, but if you go to the root, it's from load impact, but K6 is like unit testing, but for performance. I remember when we actually talked about this one time. You can write little, as much as I hate it, JavaScript to write all your tests, and off you go. But the thing I liked about it is there's a Docker image for it. So all I had to do was just pull in the Docker image. I can mount in a volume, and it would run the scripts that I wrote, something like this. Here's a really simple, go get this. I'm not a big fan of JavaScript, but their examples were pretty straightforward. And there's a commercial side to this as well. But anyway, their new version came out, and the reason why I sort of looked at it was initial support for gRPC, which I thought was interesting. And then there was one other point, support for Go extensions, to where now they could actually you could add in other things into it and have your own build of it. So I thought it was pretty cool. You're less than impressed, but that's okay. It doesn't hurt my feelings any.
It's more that I haven't been writing tests in a while, and it's one of those areas that I want to go back to. But
yeah.
The last one I used was Gatling, and I might now sound like an old man that is rambling about things in the past. I don't know whether Gatling is still a thing or not. It's Scala based.
Yeah.
Is anybody using Scala still?
Lots of people. Not. No, there are. Yeah. There's lots of people. But now we're going to talk about the last thing. There is a new Kubernetes 101 live stream series kicking off next week from Jeff Geerling. Now, if the name sounds familiar, he's the author of Ansible for DevOps. He's also doing an Ansible for Kubernetes book right now, both of which can be purchased on LeanPub. We don't get any kickback from that. It's just go buy it. But he's starting a Kubernetes 101 live stream next week. Now, he did a live stream series, and it's probably, my guess is it's gonna be based off of his, it's sponsored by somebody, Amazy.io. I don't remember if that's who it is. I don't know if he's going to be working on the when he did his other live series, it was based on, he went through chapters in the Ansible for DevOps book. If I had to guess, he's probably going to be going through different chapters of the Ansible for Kubernetes book. That would make too much sense. But also, what is next week?
KubeCon.
Which is why we still don't have a whole lot of news this week. Next Friday is going to be loaded, right?
Oh, yeah. We'll have news for next 3 months. We'll have to fight which news to actually present.
Yeah. But if you get some time next week, check out Jeff's series. Jeff's stuff is always good. He goes into just good detail. And if you're new to Kubernetes, go watch this. If you're watching the replay of this, go and check out this series, which means a lot of them already may be posted depending on when you're seeing this. So that is the basic news for this week, at least that I think. Let me go and get this going here. Now, so if you're not part of our Slack community, there's a Slack link that you can go click on, or you type in, there'll be one. I think you can go and click on it down on YouTube right now. Join it up. You can join up in the Hub channel, or you can DM us, either way. Also, there are our Twitter handles there. Okay, now let's talk. You did your, I keep forgetting my mouse is dead. You did your Hashi thing. Now wait, hang on a second. Don't say anything yet. Hang on. Are you okay there? Is that level of frustration in your face?
Yeah, that was actually, yes, that's a picture that, I'm not sure whether it ended up in video, but that's a picture from, the raw material from recording. I was so frustrated with some of the things, and I wasn't very kind to Waypoint. Now, truth be told, Hashi has a history of making silly things extremely good over time. Terraform wasn't a big deal first half a year. So Waypoint might become a thing, but it's not a thing today. It's one of those things that if I put my product manager hat right now, it's one of the things that I wouldn't even release to the public. But I might be more conservative in that sense. Hashi releases early. And I think it's a silly product that doesn't bring almost any value, but it might in the future. It really depends where it will go.
Right. I'm still excited. I'm still working on a demo with it just to work through other things, but I hit other brick walls yesterday, so we can't even get to that point yet.
I think it really depends on use cases. Some use cases it's a wrapper around tools.
Well, the ones we've talked about is for ACI and GCR. It's great for brilliant. That. Yeah,
it's absolutely right. But for others, it might actually, the whole point of the tool is to make things simpler by being wrapper and adding additional values on top of existing tools. And for some scenarios, it might actually add more complexity and not simplify things.
Yep. Today.
Which
is why I keep saying that word today, because it may get super great in the future. Today, it's super great for GCR, ACI, any kind of single image type scenario, right?
Yeah, I mean,
or is super great too strong?
So here's a message to Hashimoto, who is almost certainly not watching this.
No.
My main problem, if you can just remove Docker from the building process for me and make it simpler, I would vote for it immediately. Because it builds and deploys, right?
Yes.
And building is an issue still. I think building container images is a huge issue today.
Did you try to bypass that build stage that was there?
I didn't.
I haven't tried to leave it empty or remove it yet to see what.
But if I bypass the build stage, then I'm left with the deployment stage. And then why is that any better than Helm something, kubecttle something, gcloud something? So by combining build and deploy, there is a release stage, which I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it's realistically build and deploy.
Yeah.
If I remove one of the two, then I see no benefit. Zero. Nothing. Nichts. Nada. Nine. I can do it in all the languages.
Yes, you can. And none of which I will, not that I would edit it, but none that I have to edit anyway. But if you haven't watched the Waypoint video, go watch that. The link for that is also down in the description and the show notes. And you're working on one for next week. It's probably not going to be Shippa or Catch. Realistically, it won't be. It's Friday night already.
It's not going to be Shippa, so if I work on Shippa this week, the good news is that I have material I need to record, which sounds like it's still hours and hours of work, but still. And so this weekend, from preparation perspective, and next weekend, if I'm lucky, Shippa, and then the Tuesday after next, maybe. Most likely candidate for next week, for next Tuesday, is Flux. I really want to do two videos. I want to do a video about Flux, simply what it is, without being too judgmental.
Okay.
And then I want to compare Flux with Argo CD. So kind of two videos.
Okay. Any hints?
It's going to be a tough one. They're very similar yet very different, depending on what you're trying to do.
What you're trying to do. I did notice, and Flux is from Weaveworks, right?
Yes, it's from Weaveworks.
Okay. I noticed that Weaveworks, they've got a new RC for EKS CTL that just came out today. I keep forgetting my mouse is dead. Let me pull it up here real quick, because there was something in it that jumped out at me that was like, what are they doing? Here, let me pull this up on screen. It was this one. So in this RC for 32 that came out, there was something about, well, I saw it when you mentioned Flux. This is probably part of it. Flux and Helm operators. This was one supporting more than 4 AZs, which I never knew didn't exist. Now you have to remember with EKS Cuddle, they can only support what's available through CloudFormation. There's no magic here. So the latest release of the Amazon EKS CloudFormation thing just came out. That's EKS 3.0, I think, or what? I can't remember how they number it, but it was a 3.0 of something. And this was the feature this was one of the features that came in from that.
So
it's just weird.
Here's a problem with that specific release. Is I can understand that some people prefer doing GitOps style of stuff. You know, definitions are stored in Git. We apply definitions from Git, and that's okay. I understand some people like doing kind of CLI commands, do this, do that, and don't bother me with source code being stored anywhere. And I understand that there are people who like clicking UIs. There are 3 groups of people, probably more. Now, if I want Flux operator in my cluster, which is how I interpret that release, that means that I want source code of stuff being stored on Git. That means that I don't want to do things with EKSCTL. I'm not now saying whether we should use CLI directly or not, just to clarify.
Right.
But those two things are very opposing. I do one or the other. Why would I want GitOps for my apps? But actually, when I create a cluster, then it's okay if it's CLI.
Yeah.
I'm not saying which one is better. Just that Those two don't go together.
They are not peanut butter and jelly. Right?
No.
Interesting. Okay. Anyway. Now, I like EKS CTL, but it's only because I've spent a lot of time invested in it. Because it's been simpler than Terraform for me. For my use case. For my use case.
So here's the question. I don't use it that much now, but I used it a lot in the past. And it's brilliant to just create a cluster like this, and that's it, right? It's equivalent to gcloud, whatever is to create a cluster. So gcloud has that command baked in.
Right.
Azure has a command baked in, and I think of AKS-CTL as being what is supposed to be in a AWS CLI, right?
Yep.
Create a cluster like this. But if you would be managing real production cluster now, would you do it like that, or you would, at the end of the day, invest time in Terraform or CloudFormation,
Something
whatever?
else.
That doesn't matter. Something else.
Yeah.
You don't manage serious stuff. It's very useful. It's very useful for demos.
Yes.
And development. Let me create a cluster to try this new thing. Whatever Darin and Victor just talked about. Brilliant.
Yep. It's great for that. So let me go back and fix this for a second. I might, but longer term I wouldn't. Initially I might, yes, because I've been working with it enough. But at some point, this is just another piece of infrastructure in the larger infrastructure landscape. And if my infrastructure is being managed by Terraform, it would need to get over there.
Exactly, because it's never only a Kubernetes cluster. It's never only that. Never.
So, but I still like it. I mean, it's the simplest thing.
Great. They did a great job. So
yeah. And continue making it great, which is good. Enough to the point to where AWS says, hey, go use this. You look at the documentation on AWS, it says EKS Cuddle, everything. And it's Weaveworks maintaining it.
So thumbs up for Weaveworks doing EKS-CTL, and thumbs down for AWS not being the only provider that doesn't have equivalent of that as
of the gcloud
AWS
and
command.
Yeah. But Dave, if you're listening, we know you can't do anything about it. Dave's our Copilot guy, which I didn't see anything for Copilot this week. Otherwise, I keep reaching
next week. Nobody's releasing this week.
Everything's happening next week. Now, we got about 10 minutes left. What's going to happen next week?
Everybody's going to announce everything. Whatever they're working on. No matter whether it's finished or not finished.
They're still going to, whether it's vaporware or not.
And this is now kind of the thing that I'm starting to question, especially since I'm in the same boat. We all work for software companies. Everybody, not all, both of us. Everybody's waiting for KubeCon for big announcements. And I'm questioning whether that's a good strategy. Because there is going to be so many announcements that 90% of those will not be seen by anybody simply because there will be too many. Kind of, if you're not Google and then Amazon and then big guys, whatever you're holding for next week is going to disappear in the ether.
It's sort of like saying, hey, I'm going to release a book on Christmas Day. You can, but nobody's going to go buy it probably.
No.
It's just...
Your sales will increase in Christmas Day, but you should release earlier, unless you're, what's that woman's name? Rawlings, and decided to revive the Harry Potter series.
Yeah. Okay, so break out your crystal ball. What's going to be who's going to have the biggest announcement next week? Not what, but who?
Google, VMware. I'm going to give you three. Google, VMware, and Red Hat. It's Kubernetes is becoming increasingly the game of big guys.
Not IBM. I didn't hear IBM or Dell in your list.
I said Red Hat. I'm still not
that's
used
true.
to that being IBM.
Yeah, but that's a big difference because if it's Red Hat, then we know we're talking OpenShift, right? Or at least that's my bias towards it. So,
but the IBM strategy, Kubernetes related, is mostly OpenShift now.
Yeah,
I know. I remember. I was with one of the customers and they were using IBM something whatever Kubernetes, and that was like a few months after the announcement of the merger between the two companies.
Yep.
And I thought, don't do it. Don't go there. They're gonna kill it. And then spent hours with IBM sales guys, kind of, no, we are serious about our solution. Even after buying OpenShift, yeah, we are serious. That's so silly. No, it's everything IBM Kubernetes related is OpenShift now. I would make the same choice.
Yeah. So Google, Red Hat / IBM, and VMware. Why do you say VMware? Yeah. Because of Tanzu?
Yeah, VMware is doing some really, really cool stuff. I mean, out of necessity, but I think that it's been a while now. I think that they understood the importance of cloud and Kubernetes and what's not.
How couldn't they? I mean, they basically owned the virtualization
Oracle
space for who? What do you think Oracle?
I mean, how couldn't they? You want more examples of how couldn't they? Oracle did not really realize it yet. I mean, they have Kubernetes, Oracle Kubernetes something, but it's a joke. So yeah, you cannot realize where the world is going.
That is true. That was a boring, quick crystal ball guess. What do you think? Okay, so does service mesh get better or worse?
I think that Istio almost became de facto standard. Google messed it up big time by not allowing it to become true open source. And I think that starting from this DockerCon and into 2021, we're going to see the rise of SMI with Linkerd leading the pack for a simple reason, because what is going on now with Istio means that big guys, and I'm talking about, IBMs and Red Hats and VMwares and Microsofts of the world, are not going to invest in creating their solutions on top of Istio. It's too risky. Not because of how it works, but because of not being tightly controlled by Google. So SMI is going to become a thing. I mean, it already is a thing.
It already is.
Yeah.
I saw that Linkerd 2.7 came out this week, I think.
It's not that much about Linkerd. It's that I think that that companies will start adopting, and I'm talking about software vendors now, not individual. I think that they will start adopting SMI as a standard, and maybe they will use Linkerd, maybe they will use parts of it, maybe they will build their own stuff. That is yet to be seen, but thanks to Google, we will get the standard. SMI is going to become a thing. Service mesh interface, I think it's a short.
Yeah. And who wrote the SMI spec?
Linkerd.
Yes. Okay. Who was
I wouldn't place my bets yet that all the big guys, especially cloud vendors, are going to adopt Linkerd itself. I'm not ready to place that bet, but it's going to be SMI one way or another, most likely.
Okay.
That's me saying that half a year ago I was placing my bets on Istio because it had so much more traction than SMI, Linkerd, what's not. But Google messed it up.
I won't say anything about storage. Will that be the last thing? Is anything about storage going to change?
My prediction is that 2021 will be about storage. I mean, that will be one of the top topics. Storage is one of those things, like if you would go 5-10 years back in time, you know how databases did not change ever? They were always the same. And I think that's the situation we have right now with storage. Storage is essentially, storage is the same as it was when we started our careers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, you have block storage, you have network file system. Those are the two storage types. That's what every single vendor is offering you today. I mean, big ones. And that every tech needs to change sooner or later. And it will be, I think that we will get more traction with distributed storage, something like Ceph, and which is too complicated, and then some solutions on top of Ceph, like Rook maybe, or so commercial. What is missing really commercial offerings. I said it before. I don't want to pick my storage. I want my cloud for providers to finally start giving me storage I want to use.
Right. You want to be able to pick a class of storage, I guess.
I want to pick a price range.
I want to pick a price range. Okay, fair enough.
That's what I want to pick. I want cheap or I want expensive depending on my workload. And don't give me that about do you want this or that. No. I'm willing to pay because this is important. I'm not willing to pay much because this is not important. Those are my choices.
Yep. I need fast storage that can go across AZs. That's going to be expensive. That's going to be expensive.
I want high availability and speed.
Yeah.
Right now, you can choose one of the two. You cannot choose both.
Yep. That is...
That was rambling.
So, no, and Vladislav brought this up here too, is like, did you check Maya Store? And we talked to Uma, who is from Maya Data, right?
Yeah.
And we were talking to him actually about Litmus Chaos, but that's almost getting down to the weeds from what Victor is saying, if I understand him correctly, is we want a lever that says, I'm willing to pay the money because I have these requirements, or my requirements are nothing. My requirement is I need it to be as cheap as possible, and I have to deal with that.
I would go through. I mean, I should go through my source and store and see how it works. But anyway, to me, those are the choices for on-prem. For cloud, I'm paying AWS money.
It's money.
Please don't force me to go to a different vendor.
Yeah. What's the level of availability that I need? That's how much I need to pay.
The three most important things that I expect from my cloud vendor is compute, storage, networking. Those are the three essential things. If you don't give me those three, like imagine now if you would start going, hey, I don't like networking from AWS, I'm going to use a networking provider. Who's going to do that? I don't want to do that. If I want to do that, then I don't want to go to cloud, public cloud.
Right. Okay. Let's let that end up there. So next Friday's show should be a lot more interesting from a news perspective. We're always the most interesting people around, right? On a Friday? I know I'm
Next
not.
KubeCon will be different for me. I'm forced to watch it. There is some unrelated stuff that I have to watch it. Normally, I wouldn't watch KubeCon.
So you have to watch it. Like you have to watch Netflix. Have you watched Queen's Gambit yet?
Yeah, no. Like I have to watch live TV, not Netflix.
Oh.
I want to watch KubeCon when I have time for it.
But now you have to watch it live.
And by the way, Queen's Gambit is one of my top series.
I've watched a little bit of it. My wife binged it without me because she's healing up after a fall, and she watched the whole thing, and she's like, "This is great." The thing is that I did see some reading or read something about it, and basically it's based on a book. If you're not aware of the story, it's based on a book, and they went through the whole book in the series. So he went through all the source material, and there's nowhere else to go. So it's like people asking, well, are you going to do a second series? And it's like, well, there's no more source material. No, I can't do anything else.
There is no need to prolong the TV series until it becomes so ridiculous, like Lost was in the last season, or Game of Thrones.
I never watched Lost. I never watched Lost or Game of Thrones. So I'll save that for when I hit my 60s. And then maybe I'll go back and watch it.
That's when you will need dragons and stuff like that.
Yep. If the aliens haven't arrived yet by then. And that's not that many years away from me. So anyway. All right. Wednesday's episode coming up. We're speaking with Olaf Olaf Molenveld. It's a very interesting conversation. Olaf was a very interesting person. You'll like it. Comes out Wednesday at 6 a.m. Eastern. And I believe that is it. We're already at the bottom of the hour in most places. Most places it's the bottom of the hour unless you're somewhere in India. If you're watching from India, thank you. I don't understand that half-hour time zone in India. I always get messed up with that one. But that's fine. Okay. That's it? You done?
I'm done.
Yeah, it's...
Finish my beer, have a rest for 2 hours, and then work on Flux.
Okay. Go do that. Let's not hold you up anymore. What? You get something?
I got hooked on Stadia. I'm now playing games every day.
Oh. So that's your rest, is to go play games?
Yes.
Are you playing against your daughter?
No.
Oh.
No, she said that I'm too competitive when we play Mario Kart. And my girlfriend was entering the room every once in a while. Why are you yelling at your daughter? Why are you telling her to die and things like that? That's how I play games, yes.
Okay.
She caught me saying, die, you sucker, die, to my daughter, 10 years old.
Not a good idea. That's not good parenting.
No.
Not even joking, that's not good parenting. So, all right. Anybody else that has kids at home, go play some video games. Just don't tell them die, sucker, die. If you don't learn anything else today, that's the one thing to learn. Okay. Everybody have a great weekend. Vladislav, to you as well. That's a great way to end it up there because everybody should have a great weekend. If it's not, of course, if it's 20 where you are, it's too cold, right? So you just need...
Vladislav is used to harsh climate.
Yes. We have a few other people that are used to the harsh climates too, like Siberia. That's where Zarvis lives, right? He's in Siberia.
I don't know. He's somewhere, yeah.
He's somewhere in that area. So anyway, if it's warm where you are, that's great. If it's cold where you are, that's great. Just stay well, stay safe, and we will talk to you again. What?
It's not great. It's not great.
It's fine. If you like it, it's fine. We'll talk to everybody next week. Have a great weekend.